25 hairpin turns, 3,000 feet straight up a mountainside, and I spent most of it holding on to Bruce's arm for dear life. This is Kotor, Montenegro, and it turned out to be one of the most spectacular and nerve-wracking port days of our entire Mediterranean cruise on the Enchanted Princess. We'll sail away with Bruce and Eileen, two seniors on a mission to help you cruise smarter. Welcome aboard! Kotor sits at the very deepest point of the Bay of Kotor, often called Europe's only fjord-like landscape, even though technically it's a submerged river canyon. Our ship dropped anchor out in the bay, so getting ashore meant a tender ride into this small historic harbor. We booked a Princess 6-hour shore excursion for this port. Between a scenic drive up a narrow mountain road, great views, regional foods, and a historic museum, this tour proved to be an excellent value. We boarded a motor coach for the drive up to the village of Njeguši, and this is where things got real. The road up Mount Lovćen has 25 hairpin turns, climbing about 3,000 feet, with narrow lanes and steep drop-offs the entire way. Princess actually mentions in the shore excursion description that if you have a fear of heights, it may not be suitable for you. It was a little scary, but exciting for me, sitting by the window looking down at the drop-offs. I did hold on to Bruce's arm, though. The guide had told us that the traffic was supposed to be one way up the mountain when cruise ships were in port, but that wasn't the case today. They didn't get the news. Kudos to the great skill of our driver, who sometimes had to back up on this narrow road to let oncoming traffic pass. But once we reached the top, wow, you can see our ship sitting in the bay, looking like a toy boat from way up here. If you can handle the drive, the views are absolutely worth it. We continued into Njeguši, a small village right at the edge of Lovćen National Park. Our bus stopped there at a wonderfully rustic local restaurant, Restoran Bastadur, for a taste of the region. We had rustic bread, smoked ham, local cheese, and a glass of wine. It sure tasted good because we were getting hungry. And honestly, sitting there surrounded by nothing but meadows and mountains, it felt like we'd stepped completely away from cruise ship life for an hour. One of those quiet moments you don't expect on a shore excursion. From Njeguši, we drove down to Cetinje, the old royal capital of Montenegro, and toured the National Museum housed in a former royal palace. The museum provided insight into the history of the royal family of Montenegro. Our tour continued down through Budva, a lively seaside resort town, before heading back toward Kotor. Unfortunately, road construction along the way slowed us down more than we expected, and we arrived later back into Kotor than planned. So our guide gave us a choice: finish the Old Town tour with the group or explore on our own. And we chose to do it alone, and honestly, I'm glad we did. We entered the Old Town through the Sea Gate, straight into the Square of Arms with its historic clock tower. Kotor's Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and renowned as the best preserved urban medieval town in the Mediterranean. But here's a fun fact. The town is also famous for its hundreds of cats, which are celebrated as symbols of luck and prosperity. The shops are full of souvenirs honoring these felines. The town also provides feeding stations throughout, and they even have a cat museum. Leaving the square, we set off to explore the narrow streets. The cobblestones were very slippery. They've been worn down over the centuries, and we highly recommend wearing sturdy walking shoes. Old Kotor was built like a maze on purpose, a defensive design meant to confuse invaders, and it works on tourists too. It's easy to take a wrong turn in here, and we often did. Oh, I don't want that. We made our way to the Cathedral of Saint Tryphon, Kotor's oldest and most striking church, dating all the way back to 1166. It was easy to see with the historic buildings and cobblestone streets why Old Town Kotor made UNESCO's World Heritage List. We really loved wandering through it at our own pace. By the time we headed back for the return tender, we were tired. It had been a full day, but I think everyone else had the same idea. There was a long line for the return trip, but fortunately it moved very quickly. We didn't mind the 15-minute tender ride back to the ship, as it was like a bonus tour of the harbor. Our 6 p.m. sail away from Kotor was wonderful. Watching those mountains slide by as we pulled out of the bay, it was just one of the most beautiful sailaways of the whole cruise. So, a quick recap if you're considering Kotor. The tender in port sits at a small harbor at the base of the bay. The mountain road to Njeguši with the 25 hairpin turns was the highlight of our tour. The views from the top with your ship visible far below are unforgettable. Njeguši offers a quiet, authentic local tasting stop. Cetinje's museum provides insight into the history of the royal family. Old Town Kotor is a UNESCO gem, well worth exploring on foot, with or without a guide. And would we ever come back? We heard that the cable car to the top of Mount Lovćen also provides great views, and we'd love to take more time to explore the walls and streets of Old Kotor. If you visited this port, let us know your favorite excursion in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more cruise tips for senior cruisers. And as always, happy sailing!